What's happening, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with yours, Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. And I'm joined by my man, NFL guru Chris Franklin of NJ.com. Now a general assignment reporter, no longer the beat writer for the Eagles. I don't really know what that means, but for those of you in the industry, you know it means that our industry is fluid. For better or for worse, the industry is fluid. Now, Chris, we got four topics on deck. But right now, within the last 2 hours, the 49ers soap opera continues. So I personally don't want to talk about it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to talk about it. I just don't care. But you are the cooler side of the pillow, if you will. You are the more even keel of us both. So I'll give you the information, and if you want to talk about it, you can talk about it. If not, we can go right into Hassan Reddick, another disgruntled player. So it looks like Brandon Ayuk is not going to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It appears that in the last-ditch effort, he is going to stay with the 49ers. There's one major hurdle left. No one knows what that hurdle is in the contract, but it looks like it's going to get done. And he wants to stay with San Francisco, but as we know, things change. Didn't care. Like I at this point, I don't care. I still feel like Trent Williams is the bigger story. So when that news breaks, let me know. But I'm gonna throw the ball to you. Is this news or is this just
This is I just want this to end. Even for me, I'm just like, just pick a side, man. Like either give because I heard earlier was well the 49ers deals in place or there's a deal in place with the Steelers. Which one is he
yeah.
going to go to? Like enough with like just dude, you're a wide receiver, man. You're not even the guy on your team. And you've already missed a lot of practices with this. I know you said I'm the even kill one. I'm just to the point like, yo, just pick a side and end this whole entire thing. Enough with this. And it's probably a better situation knowing that he's got in my opinion, is a better offensive mind and a better quarterback situation with the 49ers. But it just feels like they're set up. It's not going to be a great year. Sort of financial. I want to see what the contract was, what the Pittsburgh was offering versus what the 49ers were. If it was more money, if it's like $5 million difference, all right, I get it staying there. But if it was something way, way, way better with the Steelers, you might just have to eat it and move on because you just gonna have with you. This whole thing is just pick a side. Man, just pick a side, man. Just let's end this and move on. Just week one's not too far away.
Fence. He's a local kid. He's from Rockland, California, I believe. Went to high school in California. For those who don't know, Rockland, California is by Sacramento. So it's probably about a little less than 2 hours. So it's, maybe that's, yeah, look, I'm trying to act like I get the deal. Don't get me. Like, he's a wide receiver. They're a dime a dozen. The bigger issue to me is Trent Williams. There's nothing on that front, no new news to report on that front. So I didn't think it was a story, but, I tried to put that out there for you. Here's a story that I find interesting. Like, and I am blown away by this story. So Hassan Reddick had a really good year with the Eagles 2 years ago. Last year had injury, and what's come out is he was upset about his contract. The Eagles decided they couldn't get to a deal, so they traded him to the New York Jets. Now, normally when you take in a disgruntled player, when the issue is money, you have an agreement in place for said money. Ah, but unless you are the four-letter word that is the Jets, then you just trade for a dude with no intention of meeting his contract demands, but because you're explain what the hell is it? Explain this to me. What's this?
I wish, you know what? I just really wish Hassan Reddick could hire him. Get DJ Khaled to go into the just go, congratulations, you played yourself on this one. Like I don't understand it, Joe. This is a fireable offense, in my opinion. Like this is
Yes,
enough for
yes,
Browns after the end
yes,
of the season. This is fireable.
yes.
You don't go in there giving up, and you know how much general managers hold on to their a conditional third that can turn into a second. Well, it won't be a second now because obviously you can trade it. Well, he didn't play enough things, but still, a third round pick is in the top 100 is a top 100 player, and you just gave it away for nothing. You barely just like, hey, here you go, enjoy. And if you didn't have a deal in place, if you knew that you know his biggest gripe has been getting him paid among the top three. And if you had no intention of doing that and you didn't have the framework for a deal in place, why even continue to trade? If anything, Reddick should be we should be talking in Philadelphia area about Reddick not reporting or sitting in or what have you and not getting paid and that being the storyline. And just to avoid this whole entire thing. Now you look at their defense, you got question marks. You got question marks now in terms of rotation, and you're banking on their offense. And Robert Saleh, if I'm him, I'm like, Joe, what'd you do? I made this defense I centered it around him. He's my guy I really want to get the pass rush with, and you just put me in a bad spot. And you just added all that unnecessary drama during a time in training camp when you're supposed to be building everything and not having your players subjected to all the questions from people like us asking, "Hey, why's Hassan? Why have you signed him?" Anything else? The Jets is a malpractice for what Joe Douglas did, and this very well could be the reason why when Black Monday comes at the last after that season, even if the Jets make this is enough to like throw them off. Like even if they don't make the playoffs, we all know he's on fire. If they get knocked out in the wild card round, this would be the reason why he's let go and Robert Saleh's let go along with him.
Yeah, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit for people. Joe Douglas is general manager for the New York Jets, and he used to work for the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe he was an assistant general manager for Philadelphia.
Yep.
So he played a role in identifying Hassan Reddick's talent. The issue here is this: you don't trade for a player in the National Football League if you can't meet their contract demands, because what you're essentially doing is taking on a problem. It's excuse me. It doesn't get better when he gets to NY. It doesn't get better when he meets the coach. It doesn't get better when he gets out of a situation. You know, and a lot of people now, or a lot of fans don't remember Terrell Owens' his contract right with the Eagles. But when the Eagles finally let him go and he went to Dallas, Dallas didn't trade for him. They just waited for the Eagles to let him go, and then they met the contract demands. When the Eagles got Terrell Owens from the Baltimore when he was initially with the Ravens, and then the judge stepped in and said he could go, he wanted to leave San Francisco. Contract demands. You don't bring in a player, Hall of Fame talent, modest talent, whatever, unless you can meet their contract demands. Because if you can't, then you've just wasted everyone's time. In the case of Hassan Reddick, he didn't have the lights out year last year because he was injured, and the team suffered. The Eagles had problems with coaching, scheme, all those things. However, one of the biggest issues he had was dropping in the coverage. So that means he's limited in his effect. He's either rushing the passer or he's sipping Kool-Aid. That's it. That's all he's bringing to the table in a day and age where versatility is king. Where's the lie? Where's the
There's
lie?
no lie.
Yeah,
You're right.
so if he doesn't want to drop into coverage, that means he can only be used on passing downs. So quickly, get to the point. If you're an offensive coordinator and you're game planning against the four-letter word that is the Jets, you know if you see Hassan Reddick on the other side, he's coming at you. So you can game plan against that. With that being said, the Jets, the four-letter word that is the Jets, had a decision to make, and they chose to be donkey of the day and trade for a dude who only wanted to play one style of play and wanted a significant amount of money to do that, and decided we're not going to do either. You can't make this up. Like they're bad for a reason. They're bad for Rodgers gets hurt on the first play in the first game in his first season for a reason. Like I don't want to say they're cursed, but they make you curse. But this is, and they've said they're not going to pay him. So what are we doing right now? Like, okay, let's get professional. So, Chris, what's the next step? Because the Jets have already stated they're not going to acquiesce to Hassan Reddick's contract demand. So, what's the next step for the Jets and then for Reddick?
For the Jets is the only way they basically have let the only play they have is really to stand their ground. Because if you go give in and you sign them or you do whatever, now you're just setting up a bad precedent for all the other guys who want a contract that are coming up, and it's bad. That's the only play to do. And if you trade them, you're going to pay them a dollar because everybody knows that you have to move them because you're not going to pay them. And now all of a sudden, instead of getting a third back, you're lucky if you get a seventh, a 2026, 2027 seventh because they're conditional because they want to see if they can sign them or not. So when you look at this, if I'm on sign, I'm like, I'm holding ground. Basically, it's a big game of chicken now. You don't know what you're going to do. If he comes in, the only way they get hold is they hold their ground. Hassan sees, you know what? I think the league rule I want to say is the I want to say it's the 10th, somewhere in the 8th to 10th. I forgive me for not getting it right point week. If it's a certain amount of weeks where if he doesn't play, it hurts his standing in terms of league years and his contract. He's a free agent. It reverts. He has another year. It doesn't count against him. So the Jets will still have his rights for another year. Last thing they want, and then here again.
Yeah,
So
like,
they need him to come in. It's nothing. It's a bad spot. Like, it's ugly. It's the whole thing is just ugly.
you said they can't trade. You said that they can't give his money because it could affect negotiations for the next player. I've always pushed back on that because I feel like every player is their own country, if you will. Every negotiation is its own country, and you deal with it based on the circumstance or the context of that country. For instance, you don't want the same peace treaty with Iran that you do with Ukraine. If that makes sense for people. So dumbing that down or putting that in a box, what Reddit gets isn't going to be the same as what a second round running back gets who maybe has an outstanding year. So why not just save face? Why not kick your pride to the side and just make a deal? Even if you front load it for a year and then cut them next year. Why can't they just make a deal? Why can't they just do the damn deal?
Well, also you gotta look at their owner. Woody's cheap. When he walks down the street, they all yell cheap. I used that joke last week. God dang it. So much for that one. But yeah, Woody's cheap. It's no sense about it. Like the fact that he went out and signed Aaron Rodgers, that piqued everybody's interest. Like, you spending money? What? Wait, well, what? The Jets are doing something big. Them and the Bengals are like peas in a pod. Woody and Brown was right, like, hey, how much you save? I don't know. I saved this much, right? All right, yeah. Oh, good job by you. They're that type of owners. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, that's where it's like, you know what? He's already in it. Woody's probably gonna stand his ground. He's kind of he reminds me of that guy, just like, you know what? I don't want to say crotchety, but the one guy, like, I'm not doing this. I have a record to maintain. I'm not going to appear soft. I want to appear strong. So yeah, you would think it makes sense, but he also doesn't come across that way. They may come in and say, you know what? Here's $3 million extra guaranteed. Like it, okay, just come in. Please come in. Let's just end this
Yeah,
right
I
now.
mean, just no. I don't understand it, Chris. Like I hate to see players have to fight for their money. I always have because it's always certain type of players in certain sports that have to fight for their money. You never see like I'm trying to think. Bosa held out for an hour, right? And
Yeah,
he got his money. You know what I mean? And they seem to back the truck up for other guys, but other guys got to fight. But it just seems like, and we're gonna move on to this. I just got to ask this question. You said it's a fireable offense for Joe Douglas. You know
yep.
who else should be updating their LinkedIn profile? It's not Reddick's agent. Because why would he allow him to sign off on a trade if they weren't going to pay him? No.
Very true. My man went to Japan. He came back still wondering like what the heck's going on with my contract? What the heck's going on? Yeah. And I wish I talked to Haas like that. Like, when he's in the locker room, he's very open. When he's really talking, he's very open. When he's not, he's away, he's very private guy. He really likes to keep and I wish be like, yo, what's up? How you doing, man? What's going through your mind? Like, have you thought about changing agencies? Because it's just a bad look overall. And I know a lot of these guys have multiple players and they're doing this, but if I'm one of the players that's still represented by, I forget his name, and then forgive me for that one too. If I'm being represented, I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, this guy is one of the premier pass rushers in the league. 27 sacks in two. That's the reverse Nick Foles. The 27-2. 27 sacks in 2 seasons. It's tough to find production like that. So if that's the case, how is this guy not paid and getting what he wants, or in a situation where he gets a 1 year deal that's really like, say, among the top three guys where he gets it, he proves it, and then goes long term from there on out, or a player or a club option, what have you, stuff like that. Why not come up with stuff creative? There has to be a way to come up with creative ways to get this guy paid, and neither side has been able to come up with that, or something that's concrete that the other will be able to agree with. And it's sad because I like Hassan. There's no sugar go about it. I follow this guy all the way back from his Temple days and seeing this way too. A lot of times he's just really just a chill guy. He's like, oh, okay, I just want to do this. The one thing he was upset about was going dropping the coverage, which he wouldn't fit here because Vangio has this guy doing that. And I think it was more of the way that the the coaches who were telling him to do that, Matt Patricia, that was trying to do that way, telling him to do that, and didn't know how to communicate that well why this is working at defense. So I just you hope he finds a spot that makes sense. Hope it's not the Cowboys if they move on from Micah Parsons. But you see how you go on from there, and it's crazy, man.
Well, you mentioned the Cowgirls. I was going to go to Caleb Williams. We can go to the Cowgirls.
Oh,
CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jones are another saga. I agree. Mike, look, the Cowgirl situation is a little different. Dallas, like you've got a guy going into his fifth year. Traditionally, you know, you get that fifth year in those rookie contract deals, so teams can negotiate, keep the rights, and you can keep the ball kind of rolling. Oddly enough, there's only one other player that's in his fifth, going into his fifth and final year, and he's holding out in San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
So it's not unheard of for Nicole. But with the CeeDee Lamb thing, I just wonder if Dallas and look, I could be completely off this, but I just wonder if Dallas just wants to break clean from all of them. Like they just want to start over. And they were there 4 straight seasons of 12 wins. McCarthy's obviously out on his way out. Dak is, I believe, on his way out. Maybe they just want to say, you know what? We're just going to go clean. We're going to start from scratch and rebuild this team completely. What are your thoughts on that, or do you just honestly believe this is just a ploy, just a negotiating tactic by the Jones family?
Wait, I'm in no rush. I'm like Jerry Jones. Wait, I'm in no rush to sign my best player. Wait, I'm in no rush to answer this question. Sorry, like Jerry Jones. The stupidest thing that he said. I'm sorry. I'm in a mood tonight. I'm usually, yeah, you're right. I'm usually cool. I'm like, I'm just thinking about some of these decisions.
Yeah,
Like, I don't get them. But when you look at it, it may like I can see them doing the whole rebuild, but in order to rebuild and have the pieces you need, you kind of need a really good player on offense for people to fear. And if you do bring a quarterback, say you move on for Dak and you bring a quarterback, either you draft one or you sign one to big money, you kind of need a weapon for them to get the most effective guy. So the fact that you haven't paid C Lamb, and I know we were talking about Ayuk not doing this one, but to me, CD's in a way different level as opposed to IU. He's a guy who you can move around the field and you can get matchup, uh, favorable matchups with him, and he can really do damage. IU, yeah, depending on the team, depending on that one too. So I look at that and the way they're doing it, it makes no sense. If you're not going to pay Dak, if you're going to move on completely, you better have a coach that you know in mind. I know everybody, Belichick, everybody's talking about Belichick, he's available. Also, I don't see him and Jerry meshing because Jerry's going to go, well, I think we should do this. I think we should do this. And Belichick's going to want full control. Look how the way Parcells happened, what happened to him and Parcells. So, and Parcells is probably like, you sure you want to get yourself into that bleep? No, it's not going to happen on that. So, who else are you going to bring in? And nothing by of cachet. Jason Garrett, he ain't you gonna get a Jason Garrett type guy, like a yes man for Jerry. So even if you do that rebuild, it's not going to be done the right way. You need a weapon for whoever you bring in next year. If it's Dak or a new quarterback, and the way they're going about this, even if you're trying to tank, you need a weapon. You need to do that. But if that's the case, see a Micah. You might as well just say see a Micah. Let's save some money and try to get as many resources to get whatever the guy do. Just say goodbye, everybody. See you later. And even then, the Cowboys can't do that because Jerry's ego. Jerry wants to be talked about the whole entire time in the media, and especially more importantly, especially with that $10 billion valuation coming from, he wants to get paid to get the money. So nobody's going to want to come and watch a rebuilding Cowboys team. So this is bad.
you hit the nail on it. You hit it. I was gonna go to that. My next follow up to that was gonna be with an organization that's valued at 10 billion. They got that memo far before we did. They're looking at it like maybe, and Trey Lance's all reports looked awful. So they know he may not be the answer. But Cowboy fans are going to be Cowboy fans. They're going to support their team. They're not going anywhere. They're going to buy tickets, buy merch. I just and I just feel like you've got one side of the Jets that's always trying to knock the ball out the. And then the Cowboys have seemed to draft well. They seem to put good players out. They seem to win games. More, what's better than not winning a Super Bowl? Making more money than a Super Bowl.
Mhm.
So Jerry could have said, you know what? I would love a Super Bowl, but I'm a millionaire 10 times over. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good. Speaking of good, Caleb Williams, too much being made of his debut.
I think yeah, a little bit because I think the main thing with that is nobody had NFL tape on him yet, so the Buffalo Bills didn't know how to really truly play him as until they went along. And even then, I'll give him credit for this. I like the way he showed poise in the pocket. I like the way that as a rookie, he didn't feel like he needed to push the ball into areas he shouldn't have, and he relied on his checkdowns. In the way you look at a quarterback and tell if they're really comfortable in the pocket, he didn't make those unnecessary feet. He didn't have happy feet. He looked like I'm going here. That throw to DeAndre Swift, really good throw. I thought he could have had a better throw to Roman Duzier near the goal line. I thought that could have been a little better, but overall, it's fine. Now I want to see this week. Everybody's got tape on you now. Everybody sees what you like to do, what you don't like to do. I know even if it's vanilla in the preseason, it's not the full offense, it's the vanilla base run, like almost like a Madden on basic. Run middle, run right, run left. He had that. So I look at it this way, and it was good for the first week. Hats off to him. Let's see what happens, especially the second week when some teams are more apt to play some of their starters or guys who are going to see a lot of playing time, a lot more as opposed to say the third week and that as well too. So good start for him though.
I don't know. I don't know how good he's going to be because the bar should be so low in Chicago for a good quarterback. Like you talk about nevers, they've never had a 4,000 yard passing. They've never had a 40 yard or 40 touchdown guy. Like they've never had a prolific. Jay Cutler put up some numbers, and I didn't have him in front of me. And Eric Kramer was solid for them. I did not see Sid Luckman, despite rumors that may say otherwise. I did not see Sid play. Cordell Stewart was there for a while. They haven't really had a consistently good quarterback. So to have a guy for the next decade, even if he puts up mediocre numbers for everyone else, it'll kind of be like that Donovan McNabb in Philly effect, where Donovan didn't put up eye gouging numbers, but he solidified the position. He made them a formidable offense, and they were one of the top teams in the, and not just the NFC, in the NFL for the time he was there. If he can do that, I think he's good. I will say this is better that he was good and not bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Better
it
that he
is.
didn't
That makes sense.
struggle. You know what I mean?
Achilles Smith, Tim
And
Couch.
yeah, I was just about to, and I was going to say something else. It's a damn good thing that he played.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson last year, after missing almost a decade, I missed like a whole season, decided I'm not going to play in the preseason. How'd the year work out for him?
And,
How'd the year work out for him?
yeah,
So
it did. What year?
exactly. And he's going to bet you 10 to get you 20, he'll be playing this preseason. So I'm glad that he played and I'm glad that he performed well. Once that works out, it's a good story, though. It's going to be a great story all year long. I'm going to be tuned in. Another great story. And I know I didn't have this on the rundown. Last year in training camp, Jalen Hurts threw a lot of interceptions. I remember you mentioning that, right? Preseason threw a
Hmm.
lot of interceptions. And that kind of carried over into the year. But the Eagles started out 10-1 and, issues with Sirianni, blah, 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 blah. But that interception problem continued. Well, they got a guy in San Francisco that seems to have caught the interception bug. Now, I don't want to talk specifically about Brock Purdy's interceptions, but what I do want to ask you is, having seen firsthand a guy that didn't throw a lot of interceptions start to throw a lot in training camp, is that something that does carry over into the year?
I think so. Because many times everybody's as much as you can say, oh well, training camp, you're just trying different things. We're just trying to see what this
That's
look
what they're
happens.
saying too.
Yep.
That's what they're saying too, Chris.
Sales was like, all right, what's the script say? Well, okay, we try this. Yeah, we're gonna try this here. So they're trying different things. You don't try different things. You know the system. We all know the system that Shanahan runs. Everybody knows what they're for. Plug, play, program Brock Purdy, get him on the field. Okay, ready to go. Compute. The fact that I think a lot of stuff about with the receivers not being available there, and you have rookies there too, which doesn't help. So
Mm,
sometimes you can't really put all that on
mm.
Purdy because something that where it says like to run a dig 12 yards and in, they may run it 14, timing's off, interception comes back away. I think that I can't put all of them on Purdy on that because you got those rookies playing there. But the fact that he's really trying to force it in makes you wonder, A, is he trying to prove that he's something more than what everybody keeps thinking? He's trying to prove everybody wrong, thinking he's just a system quarterback and he can do a lot better because he's Brock Purdy. B, is the Super Bowl, did he really, is he tired still a little bit? Because, you're playing for 2 straight years
Great
now.
point.
You're really playing a lot of games and you got a lot of wear. You don't really have a lot of time to rest. So maybe your arm, maybe you get dead arm a little bit sooner. Maybe you're working around with some of that stuff. So maybe that's why you're not getting the extra zip on that ball too. Maybe it's just chemistry. And fourth, you hope not. Maybe it's a Super Bowl curse and is rearing its ugly head very early on after you lost it. So there's a lot of ways to do it. You gotta hope that this is where you need Shanahan to come in and reinforce. If you gotta simplify the offense a lot more, where you have more check downs, where you do 1, 2, 3 and out, and not try those elaborate timing routes, or you're waiting, especially when you don't have your left tackle, you don't know where he's going to be, and you might not have that time. Maybe you should turn that a little bit to help get him out that funk. But it's just a bad situation he's in.
Yeah, I was curious about it, and I remember you were the first to say it last year that Jalen Hurts has had a little interception bug, and I remember that because it carried into the season. But I was wondering if it was an isolated thing or not. So I'll be watching that. And I mean, I have to remind. So quickly before we go, every year there's a team that comes out of I don't want to say comes out of nowhere, but kind of shocks. That last season it was the Texans. Everyone probably would say it was Texans. And by the way, just quick, I want to put this on tape. I'm not I did not like CJ Stroud at Ohio State. I know he had a great year. I just wonder if we're gonna have a Carson Wentz situation.
Ooh,
And spark when he first started, and now you just and everybody knows the rest of the lyric. I didn't see it. I didn't see it at Ohio State. I didn't see it with Trevor Lawrence. And I stuck to my guns on that. I don't see it in CJ Stroud. I hope it works for him. I'm not wishing failure, but anyway, the Texans were that team last year. A guy that I'm really excited about, a team that I'm really excited about is Indianapolis Colts. Now, there's nothing exciting about the state or city of Indianapolis. I get that. Was it Indianapolis? No one's excited about it.
it's
But
steakhouses, man. Steakhouses.
Anthony Richardson. I am. I think he can be exciting. Yeah, I don't need beef, so I don't eat beef anymore. Don't I've stopped eating meat
I got
completely.
this.
Steakhouse
There's
is a
nothing
waste for me.
else there.
I'm gonna tell
There's
you a
nothing
quick
else
funny
there. That's it.
story. Quick funny story. I was driving cross country, and you get to Route 66 and you hit Oklahoma City, and it was like 6 o'clock and everything was closed. Everything was closed. Then the only thing they had in that whole like 4 hour junction of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma was like a Fridays and a steakhouse. Like, dude, I'm good, man. I just, not a Burger King, not a Chick-fil-A, as far as I can see. So every time someone says steakhouse, I think of Oklahoma City. It's
Nah.
just little steakhouses. But no, I go back to things I'm good. Anthony Richards, man. Anthony Richardson. I think he can be exciting. Michael Vick exciting. He translated a lot of wins for Michael Vick, but we now know why. But I sit back and I wonder, and I look at that division, Tennessee, Jacksonville, Houston, and I really, really think he can have an exciting year. But I don't know if it'll translate in wins. They've already gone on record and said they're not going to rail him in. He can run as much as he wants to run, which is like, but nevertheless, he's going to run. But I think he can have an exciting year. Who's a team or guy that worst to first, but maybe just comes out of nowhere and excites the masses?
It's going to sound weird. I think this team can actually be a surprise contender in its division, but the Arizona Cardinals.
Well,
Because I look at the way I say this way. I bring it this way. That offense, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray with his improvisational skills, and I know at first like he's not among the top tier guys, but James Conner when he really goes. He's not flashy. He's a power guy. I look at the combination of those. I'm thinking, you know what? They can be a team. They can be one of those teams that sneak into the wild card conversation. Not that they'll ever get there. They can sneak into the wild card conversation
Conversation.
because I.
What is the
Uh-huh.
conversation? Dan Cardinals, Mr. Playoffs again. What is the conversation?
Because here's the thing: when you look at when you look at Stafford, you always have to question about his availability, and you don't really like even though you got Puka and oh, why is his name escaping me right now? Oh my gosh! So I'm going to look back at like 10 o'clock at midnight. Oh, they got the two wide receivers there, and then you look at and then you look at the 49ers with all the issues they're having. They're going to make the 49ers make the playoffs, but well, I'm not saying the Cardinals win the division. I think they could be one of those teams, and they got another year of the defense going on Jonathan Gannon, and we know how bad it was with the Eagles, and like should he be fired also? And Nick Rouse is actually a decent defensive mind, and he's got more control over there than you have it. I look at them, that combination, they'll give teams issues. They played well late down the season. It's one of those things where they built enough momentum. A lot of the Eagles back in '99 when they beat the Rams, even though the Rams didn't really have anything to play for. But that was important for Andy Reid and what he became because they built that momentum. They got those wins late and just continue to go off of that. So I look at the Cardinals, another team that really started to steamroll toward the end of the season, playing well, had an off season, they finally added a good piece on offense to give Kyler Murray, and then now you just go from here. Not saying I would say they may finish as the eighth seed in the NFC, but I think they're a team that can really, really give a lot of teams issues. I see the personnel and I'm like, all right, cool. I can see it there.
Kyler Murray's still 5'5".
Yeah, he still needs a booster seat.
Yeah. Until he gets to 6'5", it ain't gonna happen, champ. It ain't gonna happen, champ. Lil Tank Tank ain't leading the Cardinals to anywhere when he can barely. I was about to make a kitty ride joke. Look, I just don't see it with the Cardinals, man. And it starts with the Bidwell family and the things you hear about them behind the scenes,
Oh yeah.
and what who and what they are, what they represent. It trickles on down to Kyler doesn't work hard enough, and then how much of that is fact, how much of it stereotype. Nah, they're a bad organization. They're a bad team. They're gonna do bad things. I don't like anything about the Cardinals, except the red jerseys. The red jerseys are fire. But all losing teams have the losing teams always have the best jerseys. So it's not
Yeah,
saying much.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't like Kyler Murray at all. Though. And you said the 49ers will make the playoffs. I'm not ready to sign up on that either. But I do believe the
Ooh.
Rams will be better only because you'll have another year of Stafford. You got your quarterback position solidified, and McVay's a good coach. Seahawks, we'll see what they do, but I just don't even if it's by default, I don't think the Cardinals will win the division. Like I don't think they'll be in the conversation
Oh,
by week 9. It'll be Kyler Murray is going to be out of there. Should they have tried to go after Caleb? Like that's going to be the conversation.
Cooper Cup. I'm sorry. I just started finding out. I was like, I knew I was going to pop my mouth. Cooper Cup. How did I forget Cooper Cup of all things?
I
Puka's a
think
cool
Cooper
of all
Cup
things. I
is
know
on
that,
his
but Cooper,
final legs too.
yeah,
Cooper
yeah,
Cup's
he's
coming on that 4-year window for those guys that come out of nowhere and look what the NFL represents. Those dudes usually get a 3.5 window, and then they
yep.
kind of move on. They lost Aaron Donald. I'm not ready to say the Rams are going to be I don't think they're going to be a bad team. I just don't think they're going to be a good team. But I'm certain the Cardinals will be a bad team. As long as Little Tank Tank is at quarterback, they're going to be a bad football team. And it's just James Conner, not the rifleman, but like, yeah, it's going to be a bad season. You've been driving that Arizona bus now for a minute too, man. You've been
I
driving
think
it for a minute.
I like at least when in terms of what they do. They may tamper to get what they have to get done. No, they're going to trade, they're forcing that trade. They may tamper to get it done, but I like the way to do it. Yeah, you're right. The Bidwell, that whole situation with that story that popped out, what happened there, the fact that they were forcing players to, if they wanted to take food home from the cafeteria, paying for that, they got consistently got F's and D. They improved a slight bit in the thing in the NFLPA report card. Not a lot. Just I think they shamed him into changing some of that stuff where that, but it's you're right, bad organization, but it's almost like I look at like the movie Major League. It's one of those things like we're going to do this to spite the owner. Like, you know what, guys, we got to. That's where you need a culture, and you have Jonathan Gannon was just pew 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 and all that stuff. But hey, he got them together at the right time. So who knows?
When you are referencing movies that are 40 years old as your reference point to why the Cardinals will be okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you like the podcast, make sure you share, subscribe, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. He's Chris Franklin. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones. Until next time, we appreciate your time and your bees.